What's going on, everyone? I'm your host, Ryan Richards, a residential loan officer and real estate investor based out of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Today I'm bringing another solo episode with one of my favorite topics for new investors and really new first-time homebuyers. And that's the concept of your buy box. Identifying your buy criteria and trying to match the market to fit what you're looking for. If you're thinking of investing in real estate, or you're thinking of buying your first property, this is an episode I think you'll love. So this is one of my favorite topics that I talk about in my mastermind courses and in some of the real estate courses that I hold. And it's the idea of identifying your buy box. And you can apply this to multiple different facets of real estate, whether you're looking to buy your first property, single family home to live in, or if you're buying a real estate investment property. Super important, because I see a lot of newer clients, newer investors, again, newer first-time home buyers, misunderstand this concept, and it creates a challenge. It's hard. You've always heard the analogy, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. And that's what ends up happening if you don't take the time to properly identify your buy box, usually with your real estate agent, and actually figure out if what you're looking for is achievable within the set criteria you have. So first I want to start by focusing on real estate investor buy box. What does that mean and how do you identify it? Ultimately, your buy box is your set of criteria that you're using to identify good opportunities. And sometimes, again, I feel like newer investors don't necessarily take time to clearly define this. And it matters for a couple reasons. Number one, if you're not able to clearly communicate your buy box, whether it's to real estate agents, to wholesalers, to off-market property owners, to just other people you meet at networking events, people aren't going to send you opportunities that fit what you're looking for. So you need to be able to clearly define your buy box so you can tell other people, hey, here's what I'm looking for. And that way, when they think of that deal, they send it to you. And because you were clear about it, usually that deal has a much stronger likelihood of fitting your criteria and it becoming a good opportunity. So a lot of times I feel that's misunderstood. And then the other part that I think is super important is, again, if you're looking for a specific type of property or specific type of objective and you don't take the time to identify, does that fit within the area or the circumstances I'm looking in, you might never find it. You're looking for that needle in a haystack that might not exist. And here's a couple of the things you want to make sure you're thinking about to maximize your efficiency when you're searching for properties. Number one, what is your objective? In this case, if it's real estate investing, what are you looking for to make this property, quote unquote, a good investment? Is it cash on cash return? Are you looking for a property that has heavy value add? Are you open to doing a lot of construction? Are you someone who wants to go into the property, renovate the entire thing from top to bottom and have a nice finished end product? Or are you someone who just wants to go into a property that needs a little bit of operational help? Let's say, raising the rents, cleaning up how the building's operated, maybe getting rid of some more challenging tenants, making it operate more efficiently. That is definitely something you're going to want to think about. For example, my buy box is pretty specific. I'm looking for 5 to 10 unit properties or small portfolios within central Massachusetts that have medium value add. I want to be able to go into the property, I want to be able to increase the value, and I want high cash flow. So I'm looking at a market that matches my objectives. Typically, those are properties that exist in those areas. They tend to be a little bit more run down, probably a B or C class community. So once you start to get an understanding of exactly what you're looking for, you can try to then find the markets that have that opportunity. For example, I have a friend of mine looking to get started in real estate investing. Of course, like any real estate investor, they jump out of the gate with stars in their eyes. They're looking for a cash flowing property with no work in Boston for $150,000 to $200,000 a door. You're not going to find that. That means a 3-family that's cash flowing is selling for $600,000. That's not a property that exists, right? So a better buy box for that type of person would be, I'd ask a few questions. Number one, what locations do you want to invest in? Now, you need to figure that out. Is this a location based on proximity? That's important. Are you going to be able to manage a property that's far away? That might set your buy box criteria right off the beginning, starting with your location. Where does it make sense for you to invest in terms of location and management? And then within those communities, what opportunities are presented based on those types of markets? Of course, a lot of investors look at population growth, job growth, wage growth. All of those are important, but if you're an investor who can't leave your backyard because you don't have the operations to expand beyond that, that sets your radius. So a better buy box for this type of person might be, I would ask, one, where are you investing? If the answer is number one, I'm investing in Boston because I work in Boston, I live in Boston, and all my connections are in Boston. Okay, great. Now you're playing within Boston market. What does that mean? Well, different markets, again, have tendencies to provide different types of returns and objectives. A place like Boston, that's a lower cap market. So lower cap market meaning there tends to be less of a cash flow opportunity in those types of markets. As much as rents are elevated in those areas, typically the cost to purchase the building, the value of the building, exceeds the income it's going to generate. So those tend to be longer term appreciation type of opportunities. So some investors I have do identify those as good opportunities. Maybe they're not as active as a landlord. They don't have a big operational team, whether it's construction or management, to deal with maybe C-class tenants. So maybe they're looking for another form of retirement account. They want to set aside some funds into a long-term investment that's going to recoup them a nice return. That can be an opportunity like a Boston. Typically, you might have access to better tenants, right? I have some clients in Boston or colleagues in Boston who own properties in strategic locations, and their tenant base are all PhD professionals. They rent to doctors, lawyers, and dentists. So that's obviously a different type of experience than if you're owning in, say, Springfield or Southbridge. You might just get a different type of renter. So with that in mind, you have to understand what is your objective. Now, obviously, capital would be another part of that. Do you even have the resources to buy a multi-million-dollar property, which is what you're going to need to get into a place like Boston? That can also set your buy criteria in terms of location. But starting with the fundamentals, are you looking for cash flow or are you looking for appreciation? Are you looking for something in between? So for example, I look for cash flow. Now, I understand markets like east side of Providence, Boston, even Worcester's getting there where they're not as cash flow positive depending on the deals that you're looking at. I want those tertiary markets. I want the surrounding communities of those more developed areas that haven't quite caught up price-wise, which still presents an opportunity for long-term appreciation as people continue to move towards more affordable locations. And in the same token, they tend to provide a little bit more cash flow because they're still desirable to live in, they just haven't caught up to the big city. Now, if I was trying to look for cash flow in a place like Boston, again, I wouldn't find it. But I know what I'm looking for, which is cash flow, which pushes me towards certain locations. Now, once you identify the area, you know that the market you're looking in has the opportunities you're seeking, you can then identify what types of projects are you looking for. Are you looking for something that's like turnkey? That's great, but you're going to pay a higher premium for the product. If a property's turnkey, there's no work left to be done. The rents are already stabilized, the tenant base is already strong, the property's in great shape, there's nothing left to do to the property. So typically, if you're looking for a property that you can purchase that you're able to significantly influence the value of, it requires some form of work. And what level of work are you comfortable with doing? Is this something where you're comfortable taking on multiple different types of renovations? That's something you'll have to ask yourself. Do you have a team in place? Do you have construction resources? Can you manage the project? Do you have a place you're going to get the funding for? Not every bank or commercial lender is great with construction funding. Are you raising capital for the deal? Do you have the extra resources available for the construction project? That's something you're going to want to make sure you know the answer to. And depending on the scope of your capabilities, that sets what types of properties you can look for. I know of some investors that they look for deep, heavy value add. What that means, the property's in really tough condition, the tenant base is usually struggling or non-existent. There might be some evictions already in process, people not paying rent, the building needs a complete overhaul, but they can buy those deals at a very deep discount. So if you're seeking deep discount heavy value add, you need to make sure you have the operations in place to take down an extensive operation. And that might not be the fit for everyone. For me, I play in the middle. I like to buy properties that I can put some love into. I want to make them nice places to live. Plus, of course, I want to increase my equity in the property. And I want something that cash flows. But I don't want to take on a major project. I'm not taking a 6-family to the studs. That's not within my scope. It's not something that I feel fits with my strategy. But it might for you. So you need to figure out what it is that you're looking for and what your capabilities are. So again, you match the location to make sure those opportunities will be present. And then you set your capabilities so you know what types of projects you're looking for in those areas. And that's when you can start to get in the nitty-gritty. What's your cash-on-cash return objective? What's your business plan? Is this a property you're going to hold for 20, 30 years? Or is this something you're looking to get into, renovate, significantly increase the value, hold for a couple of years, and sell? Those are different objectives. So again, just making sure you take the time to set your buy box. What types of properties are you looking for? What types of projects are you capable of? And then matching the two together. Because you don't want to be in a position where you're actively searching for deals that you're never really going to find because you're looking in the wrong place. Similarly, on the single family side, there's a great analogy I've used before, really more of a strategy. When you're searching for your first property, you need to pick the location, the amenities, and your budget. You need to pick the most two important out of those three and be flexible on the third. It's similar on the real estate investing side. But let's say, for example, I'm someone who, let's say I want to be in Barrington, Rhode Island, which is a very nice market. I want to have, ideally, a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom house. And I'm looking in a specific budget, under, say, $800,000. That would actually probably be one of my buy boxes if I wasn't so multifamily focused. But that type of criteria, to me, my most important would probably be the location, and it would probably be the bedroom bathroom count. I want to make sure I have a 3-bed, 1.5 bath. I want to be in Barrington. Well, I might have to flex a little bit of my price point. I might not be able to get that house for $700,000 or $800,000, depending exactly where in Barrington. So I might need to either open up my budget to get me the house I'm looking for, or I might need to sacrifice one of those bedrooms to get me the location and the price point I'm looking for. So you have to pick and choose what's most important and then be flexible in the third. Because otherwise, you're probably not going to find that home run property that fits all of those criteria. It might not exist. In some sections of Barrington, you can't get a 3-bed, 2-bath house for under $800,000. That doesn't really exist. It just depends on, again, what you're looking for and where, and what are your hard criteria. Same thing applies on the single family primary residence side of things as well. So making sure you have these conversations with your realtor and then take some time to think about them. What is most important to you? What are your objectives and what are you most capable of? Because otherwise you might find yourself in the hamster wheel. Because I see people do it, I hear people talk about there's no deals out there, I can't find a house, I can't find what I'm looking for. Yes, inventory is low, and yes, great deals are scarce, but I always question, have they really taken the time to make sure what they're looking for in the right areas, and they're looking for with the right intent and with the right understanding. So make sure you take the time to think about that. As always, you have questions about real estate investing, buying your first house, refinancing, financing in general, you know who to talk to. Enjoy the day.